In this video, you are about to watch 10 interesting and horrific facts about the Vikings, the scourge of North. Keep watching as number 3 fact will shock you. Don't forget to check out the links in the description below. Before we proceed, shout out to Yusuf Umar, Free Thinkers of the World by Shannon Hayward, Likpati Studio. I really do appreciate your support. I always do a random shout out for my subscribers. If you want to get mentioned on my next video, subscribe now or this dog will visit you tonight. Let's move on. One of the many horrific facts of Vikings, Scourge of North, is that when they invade a place, they would go into battle in a trance or hallucinating state of mind known as berserker. Why? Because, while in trance, they would indiscriminately butcher anyone in their path. This berserker state of mind is as a result of eating psilocybin mushrooms that are best known as magic mushrooms, which increases their adrenaline levels to the extent they go wild, leaving behind casualties of war. Another horrific fact of Vikings is that their women uses their sense of smell to sentence one to death. They achieved this by feeding the injured warrior a broth that had leeks, onions, and herbs. After consuming it, if the women smell the broth, they knew the wound was deep and there is nothing they can do about it. They would focus their energy on those they could help. The sword of a Viking is double-edged sword and sharp enough to cut through a human skull or cut off a limb with one slice. Not forgetting, men are expected to defend their homes, leaders, and property. Vikings men are armed at all times due to family disputes, as they are constantly at war with each other. This is the reason why they carry them on their back and also sleep beside them. Vikings' horrific practice of holmgangs, which is another way of settling disputes at that time, or fight to the death as the way out, with one person challenging another who he felt had wronged him. More so, it is worrisome to know that someone could volunteer to fight in place of the person who was challenged. The only way holmgang would come to an end was when one of the fighters dies. If the person challenged didn't show up for the fight, he will be automatically deemed guilty. The games of Vikings is so violent that it would makes UFC looks like ballet. In their games, death and serious injuries was the norm. One could stop playing whenever he wanted, and if he is killed, that was his fault. One of their game is the swimming competition, where one holds the opponent underwater as long as possible or could. If he couldn't reach the surface, he drowned. All this is to help them stay and keep fit, but in truth they are horrific, and if the fight is not dangerous enough, brawls and fights could erupt. As a play game, a 6-year-old boy axed another boy's head because he was roughed up by the boy earlier in the game. In Vikings' horrific culture where violence is way of life, children ought to be strong enough, and as such, children are forced and subjected to work. As they get older, the males are required to fight while the females work around the home. When a deformity child is born, they are often placed outside and left to die. More especially, girls are left to die than the boys, as they are considered less valuable and married off. Not sure of the reasons for raids and pillaging. One theory has it that Viking men wanted women because of the unbalance in the male-to-female ratio. All glory to the gender-selective infanticide. As believed by researchers, the main reason Viking men invade different places in Europe is focused on kidnapping women to be their wives. Based on genetic testing, it confirms 80% of male settlers in Iceland came from Norway and 63% of the women settlers from British Isles. One of the most horrific fact about Vikings is graugr. Graugr are the ghosts of dead Vikings and dwell in their graves, often guarding treasure buried with them. Unlike ghosts, they have a corporeal body with similar, physical abilities as possessed in life. They possess superhuman strength and can increase their size at will. They appear from the graves as wisps of smoke and carry the strong stench of decaying flesh. They slay their victims in many ways, including crushing them while in their gigantic forms. These monsters enjoy devouring flesh and drinking the blood of their unfortunate victims. Animals that choose to scavenge near any graves occupied by graugr were said to be driven mad by the control and power of these evil mythical creatures. These entities were said to often come back even after being defeated. Cutting off the heads, burning the bodies, and throwing the ashes in the sea were some of the many methods used to mutilate their bodies after defeat. Another horrific fact is child sacrifice, though no direct link, as rumored by Christians. But Vikings writings say that humans are the ultimate sacrifice and Odin supposedly demanded it. This is largely evident in recent findings of children's bones found in the well along with sacrificial jewelry near a Viking settlement in Trelleborg, Denmark. The blood eagle is one of the most brutal and gruesome form of executions reserved for royalty. It is a form of execution where the shape of an eagle with outstretched wings would be carved out from a man's back. This has to do with using an axe to hack the ribs from the spine one by one. While the victim is still alive, the bones and skin were pulled back to make victim's back look like wings. This give way for the next stage, where salt is rubbed into the wounds and the lungs pulled out through the back, and spread over the wing, making the lungs exhale their last breath while the wings are fluttering. The Viking actually depict this form of execution in their artwork.
That's all for today. If you like this video, you better smash that subscribe button or I'll take your cat. Thank you for watching. See you on the next video.